Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Jared Brandon Wound Pickups.
Hey, it's me, everybody, Todd Novak. We are super happy that you are along for the ride of the Guitar Knobs podcast.
Welcome.
Yay. We've got an incredibly fun episode this week. I'm super excited for this. This episode is Recording Studio 101.
All right.
What to prepare for as a guitar player. All right, this is going to be super exciting because we have someone in the studio to help us along with this.
Who is that?
Who is this?
Jon Fintel from Relay Recording.
All right.
Relay Recording is a fine establishment in the Columbus area. A very reputable shop, as I understand. Hopefully to be there soon. Maybe myself. Let's work out a deal. I'm just saying.
Now we know why he's the guest.
Right.
No. He's a solid dude. And also you do a lot of actual video shoots and sound stuff for that kind of thing, right?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
It's excellent. That's how we actually met on accident.
That's true.
This
That was kind of weird, but
That
kind
was
of
weird.
kind of cool. at the
Yeah,
same
I'm
time.
glad that actually happened that way.
Yeah.
As opposed to you answering the 15 emails I sent. No, I'm just kidding.
Why
It
do you
was, it was only two.
Oh, he's a hater.
It was only
he
two.
is a
Maybe
hater.
I bet
No.
you spelled my name wrong in
We
the
all
email.
clear. I probably did. It is,
And that's why it didn't
user
go
error.
through.
User
I
error.
can show you proof that he can't spell.
This is yes, that's actually 100% true. All right, everybody. Do we have any announcements?
Yeah, I have
gentlemen?
one.
Yes, sir.
So March, this month, is really no big deal. However, next month, I meant to say April. So
all
next
the
month,
calendars are offended.
there are a lot of guitar shows going on, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so like the, let's see.
April
in
is
April
chock full.
4th, I believe that will be the Indiana Guitar Show.
No, the 4th, I think, is Chicago.
Oh, you're right. 4th is Chicago. And the next week will be
Indiana.
and then after that will be Akron.
Yes.
So there's a lot of guitar shows going on.
There are.
And there's plenty of opportunities to go and visit your local guitar show.
This is 100% true, regardless of where you're at.
This is ugly already.
I know, it's funny.
What do we do on this show?
Well, I suppose we could tell everybody what we do on the show. That's kind of a big deal.
Jared?
Well, what we do is we have these really cool 101s, which we're going to have today.
Like tonight.
Like tonight.
And then we'll also talk to small boutique builders because we like to talk to mostly everybody in the guitar world.
But they're easier to make when you have small hands.
Yeah.
Yes.
More dexterity.
Yes,
right.
and,
So the small
and in this
boutique
case, we
builders.
have a professional who is a professional at what they do. Mr. Professional. All right.
It's going to be a learning
It's gonna be
episode,
great.
everybody.
Yes.
Gonna be great.
Learn it while you can.
So, let's talk about what we did in the music world this week, starting with Tony.
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
Well, in the mail today was something that I think I find really cool. And I love ways to modify guitars without permanently changing them.
Ah, yes.
So I'm, as many of you know, a big Rickenbacker 12-string aficionado.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I like is the late 50s, early 60s trapeze style as opposed to the R-tail piece.
Right.
They're
Explain
easier.
the R-tail.
So the R-tail is like a cast tailpiece that has the letter R, obviously, for Rickenbacker.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, especially on the 12 strings, they are just a bear to restring. There's little tricks you can do, but I find that the old style trapeze ones are much easier to take it one step better. So the old style trapeze have 6 holes. You have to feed 2 strings through each hole.
Really?
Yes. And
That's
that makes it
interesting. I
really,
did not know that.
that can be a problem. So what I got in the mail today, there's a company called Winfield Vintage that makes essentially the same trapeze, except they put 12 holes in it.
Oh.
So what this
Enterprising man with a drill bit looks like.
well, not only that, but the bracket that holds the tailpiece in place
Right.
is drilled for, obviously the big hole is for the strap button, And then the two small holes match up with the existing holes in the thing.
Nice.
So you don't have to
Do new
No
holes.
drilling.
There's
It's
no
just-
drilling.
it's
You
just
pop this
you're
on.
just bettering.
No Swiss cheese.
That's what they should put on the package. No drilling, just bettering.
no.
Have you
Swiss
tried
cheese.
this? Have you tried this thing?
I've used other trapeze ones before. I haven't tried this particular 12 string one.
that particular one.
I will.
I'm just curious how it works with the two holes and the
it makes
strings
it much
vibrating on that little.
well. I mean, I've used other trapeze tailpieces like this, and I don't notice any harmonic difference or anything.
No problem
like
with
that.
strings breaking or anything.
Well, that's a problem with only 6 holes. If you
Yeah,
break
that's what I
one of the strings that go through the holes, you have to replace both of them. With this,
What a
Since
silly thing. Why?
that's the way they did it. What
That's
can
what
I
I'm
say?
saying. That's-
But
Why do that?
anyhow,
All
so
right.
this came in the mail today. I'm really happy with it.
Or bare minimum, just make it a slot. Just make 6 slots instead of 6. Wow, man.
You missed your calling.
I know, right?
Wow.
I could have made $1 million.
you
this
could
week's
you could have
product
come up with
development.
I could have been somebody.
Anyhow, so that's going to go on a RIC 12, and I will let you know how it works out. I think it's going to work out
Brilliant.
just fine.
I love it. All right, let's hear from John.
I recorded a band.
there was a
right.
guitar
So-
in the band.
There were plenty of guitars in the band, and
Was it
I think
38 special?
The coolest thing I did, though, Tony, you had your one already.
Yeah.
You wasted it, and here we are
Simmer down.
already. We're
Simmer down,
15 minutes
fellas.
in.
He's not used.
Okay,
just
okay.
relax. Okay,
All right, I won't pounce on him quite so much.
Anyway, for the lead track and a couple other tracks, we used my little PV solid state from 1980 something, and I just blasted the input, cranked the gain up, and it was like a fuzz. It was
Right.
fantastic.
Which model PV was it?
Like a Bandit or something like
Yeah,
that.
dude.
Damn it,
It's
65.
Yeah, it's
That's a good
something,
amp.
and I just cranked the thing.
That's what I started with.
And the last time I used that amp was on. I did vocals for. I don't know if you know the Warren Flints. They're a local band.
I've heard of
They
the
tour
Warren Flints.
nationally. They're pretty good.
WORN Flints, not Warren Flints.
Right.
Right.
I don't know who Warren Flints.
I don't
is.
even know.
Anyway, so yeah, I used that on his vocals on that record, which is that Clementine record.
Mhm.
And this time I used it on a lead track,
Huh.
and it was fantastic. It sounded great.
Awesome.
You'll hear it eventually. It'll be everywhere.
I'd like to hear it when I come visit the studio.
Oh,
Can
okay.
I do that?
Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
Awesome.
You should play through that thing. It's funny.
I'd
It
like
sounds better than it should.
I used to. That's what
a
I
great
started out
amp,
with.
actually.
Yeah.
Anyways, I wanted to do. I just want to interrupt our normal programming really quick. We have somebody else in the studio. The question has come up several times, like, why don't you have female builders or female guests on the show? It's not that we're trying not to. They're just I
Few
haven't
and
found
far
any.
between.
Yeah, so if you are,
They have standards.
let me
usually.
know. Let me know. And yeah, probably standards. But we have. Do you want to introduce your friend here?
Oh, this is Mick Martinez.
And Mick Martinez is in a band called
Snarls.
Snarls, but she's a guitar player. And I would just like to know,
Shredda.
and the rest of, I think, our audience might like to know, just out of curiosity, what do you play? What is your guitar? What is your rig? Just tell me your guitar and your amp and maybe your favorite 4 pedals real quick.
I play a Fender Mustang, the blue with the tortoiseshell pickguard.
Sonic
Okay.
Blue.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
talking
All
about.
It's covered in stupid stickers too.
Yes. Punk.
And I play that through a Vox AC-15. My favorite pedals, your Walrus hat actually reminded me of this. I love the Walrus Voyager, and also I don't know how to pronounce the brand, but it's like NUX. I don't know if they just say Nux or whatever, but it's like this $20 chorus pedal that I got used, and it's actually really amazing.
Nice.
I love it. But
That's
yeah.
I've never heard of that one.
Of course.
Yeah, that's about it, I think.
Okay, that's cool. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Of course.
All right.
No one escapes the podcast.
We should say that she's taking some photos for John and for his
She is.
studio and yes. So there you go. Thank you for swinging in, and I think yes, she's taking off now. Everybody, so say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, Nick.
Goodbye
Thanks for
now.
sharing.
Pleased to meet you.
I'll miss you most of all.
All right, Jared, what do you got going on this week, bud?
Oh, man. So I got this awesome new amp, man. Actually, it's a very old amp. This particular amp is from 1978, and the brand is Premier. I think it's pretty much considered a practice amp. It is solid state, but I took a risk. I got it off Craigslist.
Yeah.
And
that can be risky.
yes, it can. But this thing is unmolested, untouched. Not it was.
What's the speaker configuration?
I believe that's a 10-inch speaker, or maybe
that looks to be a 10.
Yeah, it's a 10.
A single 10?
Yeah.
Just
it's a
one
combo.
10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, combo amp, and it's very old. And when I got it, the reverb didn't work, and the pots, like the volume and tone, were all scratchy and messed up. So I pretty much took it apart, and I got my contact cleaner out, and I cleaned up all the everything, and I took the reverb apart. I got the reverb unit out, and I was really surprised when I read this label on the reverb unit, and it was somewhat. I'm not going to even say what it said, but it was made by a factory in Wisconsin, and
Yeah. Well, we can. It was a very interesting thing that was said. I remember you showing that.
yeah. So anyway, Anyway, it's a very interesting.
Rather nefarious label, maybe.
Back then this wasn't like a high dollar amp, but everything about this amp is considered high quality today. Like
Interesting.
everything was like I saw the pots and the things and all that stuff, and saw some German transistors and
Yeah, no alpha pots in that thing.
no,
probably.
it was all pretty much high quality stuff.
Where is it made?
This is made in. I want to say it was
Wisconsin.
made in
Wisconsin. That's right. You
Well,
mentioned
that's
that.
where the reverb unit was
Oh,
made,
okay.
but this was made in Pennsylvania.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a
American.
great sounding little amp for what it is. You turn it all the way up, and you get a heck of a cool fuzz. There's actually a gain on it.
Wow,
It's interesting.
that's cool.
What all does
I
it
gotta
have
come
on
over
it?
and hear it.
What are all the
I'll show
controls
you a
on it?
picture of it, but I'll explain. So there's a volume and a couple of tones. There is all the way to the right. There is a gain. You can also plug a foot switch in. Yeah, bass, treble, volume,
What
and
is the foot switch for reverb? Or is there a tremolo on it as well?
no tremolo.
Or vibrato?
There is a reverb, and you can
Mhm.
control the depth, of course. And then there is also a foot switch for the gain. So you can, yeah,
That's kind of cool.
yeah, it is.
Not
A gain is that's sort of odd for that era.
Here it is. Here's
Maybe
a-
like a
unless
second
it's a-
stage gain kind of thing.
Yeah. But it's a great amp, and it's pretty darn clean.
It looks really cool.
It is, and
I think I have an air conditioner that looks like.
Yeah.
exactly. It looks like a
Yeah, that's cool.
humidifier.
You know
or
what that looks
something.
like?
Yeah,
It
right.
looks like if the rat was an amp. If the rat
Exactly.
pedal was an
Totally
amp, that's what it looks
like.
like.
Yeah,
For
I mean,
real.
So I mean, it was
I
only
like
$50.
that.
I drove 40 minutes to get it, but it was only $50.
I'll give you 51 for it.
I'll let you borrow it. For sure.
I'd love to play it. It'd be kind of
Oh,
fun.
absolutely. It's great. Especially when it's all dimed
How
out.
about you, Todd? What's going on in your musical
What's
world this
happening?
week?
In my music world, let's see here. Shoot, just last night I was looking at the guitar rig and I had some work to do, and I said, I'd much rather play guitar. So I went over, and right now in our band we've got a sort of an early Ramones length set. So it's short. We come in here and we smack you in the forehead with a little 2x4, and then we run. And a couple friends, Tony has been like, "You need more songs." I'm like, "We got songs, but
How many songs do you have?
2. Right now we're playing a set of 8.
That's
It's like
great.
20 minutes.
Yeah,
you could use a
25
few
minutes,
more.
25 minutes.
Just take a
Depends
long
how many
break.
jokes you tell.
We'll
right?
take a long
could.
break in the middle.
Yeah, we
For
could. So,
extended solos.
so anyway, so
change
I said,
your
you know
strings,
what?
and that's part of the act.
I'm gonna get some new stuff here. I'm gonna see what happens.
You want me to write a couple for you?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
And I knocked out two that were. I was like, holy moly, these are actually like real contenders, not like just like, hey, maybe there's something here. Like almost full songs. And
Wow.
I shot them to my pals, and everybody's like, holy moly, what the heck? This is fantastic. Let's knock these out on Sunday.
We give Todd a hard time about songwriting
Yes,
and
you
all
do.
that, but let me tell you something. It is extremely difficult to write a song. I've been playing for 30, 40 years. I don't know how to write no song. So I just wanted to put
That's a
that
double
out there.
negative. I don't know how to write no song.
or speak no
Which
English.
means you do
That's right.
know how to write no song.
I don't.
Which,
I don't.
Yes.
So,
Anyways, I
I
appreciate
admire
that.
you.
Too.
I admire you.
I thank you for that, Jared. So anyways, that was really exciting because I
Me
was
not
like,
so much.
like, hey, boom, here's 2.
Yeah.
I only wanted 1.
That's good.
Yeah, I was excited about it. All right,
It's a
enough
twofer.
jibber jabber.
Yeah.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor.
All right, John from Relay Studios,
Todd.
give us your 4 on the floor.
Okay. We're going to start with the first one. You don't want them all yet.
No,
I'm just
going
to feed them to you.
One at a time.
slowly.
Yes,
This pedal,
he actually has it in the studio right now. So
I brung it.
yeah,
Okay. This one is a Blackstone Appliances MOSFET. This is my favorite overdrive pedal that I've ever heard
of
in
all
my-
time,
in my life
brilliant.
because on so many levels, it's great. It has 2 channels and it's in a regular, like one of the small MXR sized boxes.
Yeah.
Has a brown channel and a red channel. That's the only dumb thing about this pedal. When you're flipping the thing from channel to channel, you either get like an orange light or you get a red light that's very similar.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
It's like, what am I doing here?
Uh,
But I have the red one just cranked to like Smashing Pumpkins level
Nice.
distortion. So I know you can hear it. It's no secret.
Sure.
It's a MOSFET pedal. So that's where it gets his overdrive is a bunch of like a number of them, a chain of them,
Right.
all distorting a little bit as opposed to like the diode flip thing. And,
Right.
you know, so you don't get any of the fuzzy business on top. And it's been my go-to since I got it. And I never heard the thing, but I just read about it. And I thought, I'm going to get that. So I got it and it just blew me away. And it has these little, like the knobs are not knobs. They're these little screws that are inset. So I'm the
very
guy.
industrial.
It is.
It actually kind of looks like a Petty John pedal to a certain degree. It's got that sort of like hammered,
Yeah, the hammered paint.
hammered paint,
yeah.
and it's got the what you call it, the is that steel or aluminum? It's got like the industrial
The faceplate.
faceplate,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then the screws. It means business.
It's got-
reliable comes
and
to
that
mind.
looks old.
It's got
Yeah.
switches.
You could
and
run over it
jacks.
with a car or
Probably.
a tank.
That's cool,
Yeah.
and I have played that, and it sounded really nice.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Cool.
Looks
And
reliable.
it can go into a clean amp and still give you that stuff. It's not relying on the amp. And that just
Have you played any of their other pedals?
what?
Have you played any of their other pedals?
That's it.
That's the only
They
pedal
have that in a version 2 as far as I know.
Okay.
That's all
Well,
they
there you
needed.
go.
Yeah.
Then the answer is yes.
I'd like to get another one actually. Just to not have one on my board and have one that I can use
Like
in the studio that I can
yeah.
just screw with and do whatever with.
Brad.
But I love the fact that these things are inset because I am the most famous like kicking knobs guy live.
Right.
So I'll just kick the knob, and then it just turns off or it's super loud and then I stomp on it and everyone at the show is mad at me.
Right.
But I don't do that with this one. Number 2, I've got the Superpuss on here, which I haven't had that long. It's a way huge pedal.
Uh-huh.
And I really love it. It's an analog delay. It's simple to use. It has everything I need on it. And it sounds very rich. You can do all kinds of stuff with that pedal. And it has a tap tempo on it, which was, I had a Memory Man that I used for years, which doesn't have tap tempo, obviously. I had a Disaster Transport that I used for a bunch of years after that.
It's a Cedar Point ride. Sorry, but it is.
It's not Cedar Point, though. That's
So
Disney, isn't it?
Hyper regional.
The Disaster Transport? I thought that. No.
And
It's the-
that ride's gone now too.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
so-
I'm showing my age.
so
I'm
that
sorry
was-
I interrupted.
In a
What?
at an amusement park
It's a very
And then
obtuse
Sandusky,
reference.
Ohio.
in Sandusky, Ohio.
The ride's been probably gone for 10 years.
10 years ago, there was a ride called that thing. All right,
Yeah,
thanks.
I'm sorry.
No,
No more. No more. I'm
Anywho.
it's
done.
funny. It's funny.
What, they had a ride called the Superpuss?
That's what I thought he was talking about. Like, I'd ride it.
Yeah.
Do you right. When you kick when you kick the switches, so you never interfere with those tiny little micro. Right.
Yeah. You can't make hand motions when you're doing a podcast, but
Right.
I have the Boss,
He does.
the Boss ES5
All the time.
So that's why I got this almost solely for that reason, because I'm terrible at my foot accuracy is not good. So I would kick the knobs and stuff. So I got this thing. I just have them individually set into that, and it's a controller, so I can turn each one on. And there's that. I just have to remember what goes to what.
Do you use the tap tempo a lot or not? Or you just
On
kinda
this
set?
I do. Yeah.
You do? I mean,
Yeah.
do you have a problem? I mean, reaching over the other pedals?
Not really. I used to because this is the mute functions, but I moved the pedal over away from that because I would click on the tap tempo, and half the time I would hit mute on
the switcher.
on the switcher.
Yeah.
And then I'd get real mad when it like, I don't have a temper, but when I do that, I just want to chuck this thing like across the room.
Gotcha.
I gotcha, man.
Yeah. So I do the tap tempo on that, and it's great.
So what made you go for the Super Puss? There's obviously loads of pedals that do that thing.
I don't know. I think it was just the variants, and part of it is I got it on Reverb for a very good price.
Nice. There you
So
go.
I was like,
It's always an incentive.
that's the one. That's
ding,
going to
ding.
be perfect for me.
Right on.
It
So
looks cool.
It's a great looking
yeah, it's
pedal. and
it's a
solid
beautiful
as
looking
rock,
pedal
too.
It is, and it has like the depth and all this crazy stuff you can do with it, and you can do the different delays that you can change with this. Dunk, dunk.
Right.
This button is
There's a middle button that you can select.
the
between
feedback
your
button. You
delays,
can depress it and change. The
Look it up,
divisions.
listeners.
Yep.
That's right. Look it up.
All right. What's next?
This warped vinyl
Chase Bliss.
by Chase Bliss, which is way more pedal than I should have.
That is a lot.
It's a lot of pedals.
It's got dip switches in the back of it.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like sorry. It's like Mark Wahlberg's third nipple. You don't need them.
but you never know.
Yeah, I'm never ever going to use those.
Yes.
But
There
are
are
6 other knobs.
Yes.
Holy smokes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
6 other knobs and switches.
And that's right. There are 3 toggle switches in addition to that.
Yeah.
Which I leave it where it is because I tried the other ones. They were a little
There's 4 toggle
outlandish.
switches.
I just okay, Todd.
4
Holy
toggles,
smokes.
2 foot switches, 6 knobs.
23 dip switches.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's
Right.
a lot of
Yeah.
pedal. But so tell us what you love about it.
It just does that warpy. I mean, it's called warped vinyl. There's a reason it's called that.
Yep.
It does
Yeah.
it does a thing that does a modulation in the middle, but it's a timed thing. So it's not a continuous sine wave sort of chorus that
Right.
it gives you. It gives you something that has a shape to it that moves at one section
As
and
if
then,
it
and then
was
doesn't.
actually warped.
Yes, and you can change the speed of that, the depth of that, all kinds of stuff. It has again 6 knobs,
Yeah.
and a bunch of toggles. It's
Yeah.
crazy. I don't know everything that it can do yet. I haven't had it that long, but I know a guy, and a guy helped me with
Brilliant.
the price of that.
Nice.
And that's
Yeah.
why I have it.
Nice.
Cool. What's number 4?
Number 4 is the Ghost Echo by Earthquaker Devices.
Good pedal, man.
I love that pedal. It makes everything just big and juicy. I like modulation a lot, obviously.
Yeah.
Especially in the band that I'm playing in now. That is a very big part of it.
That's very
So-
cool. So you're the color guy?
Big spacey. I'm the rhythm guitar guy that's just filling space, sort
Yeah.
of,
Okay.
and putting down the chords.
Gotcha.
And that thing just gets large, is what it does, and it creates
Yeah.
a lot of space. It's
It's a
fantastic.
no-nonsense pedal.
It is 3 knobs:
Yeah.
depth, dwell, and attack. And the fact that it has attack on it is pretty cool because you could actually dial up like a slap back kind of thing. It's emulating a spring reverb, so
Cool.
it's pretty cool.
Right on, man. I think 2 things worth mentioning. If I had a foot switch pedal, I think based on what you were saying about the foot dexterity, I think I would probably be clever and write laces out on it. Anyways, and then the other thing was stupid joke. Sorry, Tony, I stole your
It's
stupid
Fintel,
joke.
not Finkel.
Stealing my thunder, man. You're stealing my thunder.
No, but it's worth mentioning, and I think this is kind of important because you didn't just say, I think I'll just have these pedals. I asked him if he had a specific pedal, and he said, well, let me check in my closet. And I opened up the closet. I'm like, oh my God. There's like, 150 pedals in there, maybe?
I don't. Man,
There's a lot of
100.
There's a lot
Probably.
of pedals in there. It
Yeah.
looked like it was in the back room of Guitar Center. And so the fact that you chose these, I think says a lot.
It's top
That's all I'm saying.
of a big heap.
It is exactly.
And there were so many there were others that I was just like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That
I
one's
could
pretty
definitely spend some time with that Warp vinyl for sure.
For sure.
Yeah,
It's
I
great.
love that stuff.
Yeah. I think it's there. We mentioned the Deco, the Strymon Deco. There's probably a few similarities in there for sure. I think those pedals are probably like, people toggle either between one or the other of those and several other sort of warped sounding things. Anyways, let's talk about, so you're going to record 101. All right. We're going into the studio with you, John. You are going to help us out. How long have you been recording people?
6 months.
Do I have? Yeah, that's right.
Say that.
I just started. Let's see. Do I really have to go into this? I graduated from recording school in 1994.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So that didn't hurt
That's
that
not
bad
bad at all.
I was 13.
No, you were not.
I
I know
was.
that
The youngest
for a fact.
graduate ever.
I was so smart. The Doogie Howser of producing and engineering.
Now, what I will say, we won't, go on and on about you, but I will say that when I was looking for a place to record in town, every single person that I talked to either mentioned your studio or said, I went there once and I've only gone back there since. And one of my closest friends, Billy, shout out to Billy real quick here.
Hey, Billy.
He's been in several prominent bands in the Columbus area, and he swore up and down for your work. So
Nice. Thanks, Billy.
I
knew I
it
liked
is a
him.
tough market.
I
out
didn't know
there.
why, but
It's a
I knew
tough
I liked
market.
him.
And when that many people vouch for you, you're doing something right. So
Cool.
put that in the bank. All right. Let's get down to this. I roped him into this because of all of the things that I heard about him, as I just mentioned. So I figured he's got experience. I went down to the studio to check it out, and we had a great time. You showed me all around. You have a really nice studio. All the tools that you had access to and like loads of amps. And it made me think, okay, you are somebody as a guitar player, especially somebody who is probably keen to what are the needs of a guitar player in a studio. You're not just the guy who's recording. You probably have a slightly unique perspective on that. So I know a lot of our audience has never been in the studio before. A lot of them. I know that there are several people who have been in this studio. There are people who probably were traumatized by that experience. And some people who have been like, man, I've gone in the studio all my life. And I bet you we're going to talk about some things that might be new information for these people. I've been in the studio many times. Every time I feel like it's the first time I'm going in. I always feel like, what am I doing? So we have a whole bunch of questions we're gonna hit you with. All right. And we're going to try to approach this as much as we can from, as we always do, a learning standpoint. Let's go for some questions here. All right. I'm the person who's going to go in and record. That's the perspective we're going to take from it. All right. Number one, John, what do I need to do to prepare my guitar to go record in the studio?
Most common thing that's overlooked is not having your guitar intonated before you bring it in to record. So if you're playing a part that ends up going up like 12th fret, not even that high, 7th fret or something like that, it's going to be out of tune. Like you could tune that guitar all day, and if you play something up on the fretboard, it's going to be out of tune.
Okay.
And that is a real pain to get around.
Let's just very briefly talk about intonation on a guitar. Like, we won't deep dive on it, but
So intonation is basically changing the scale length based on the string slightly, enough so that everything plays in tune. And what you're talking about is most notably on the G string. If you play, the G is notorious. If it is not intonated properly, it just goes sour.
Oh, yeah.
Really,
Especially
really
on a
fast.
Gibson, oddly enough.
Yes.
They're
Absolutely.
the worst with the G string.
Sometimes you can't even tune it right.
Yeah.
Well, they G is in the name of Gibson, so I think that's all. It's part
There
of
it is.
their strategy.
all right. So
So basically, it's the adjustments usually at the bridge.
the
Although
little
they're-
saddles that are sitting in there with the
and
groove in
you
it.
can slide them back and forth, and basically you start. Usually, your high E is the actual scale length. So if it's a 25.5-inch scale fender. The distance from the nut to where the string sits in the saddle is 25.5 inches.
Right.
And then the strings vary from there. And usually like your low E is back a lot further because
Right.
the thicker the string.
And that's why they're all staggered.
Correct.
So for an in-depth understanding of how to intonate your guitar, all you got to do is go to YouTube, and there's like 10,000 videos on
It
how
has
to
a
do
lot
that.
to do with the 12th string or the 12th,
The 12th
fret.
fret. Yeah, that's
Basically
that's the
the-
midway point between your scale
And if-
for
right.
the most part.
If
You
you
want-
have a loose tremolo or a Floyd Rose or something, that could be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going into drop D or something.
Agreed. So take your time and learn all about that, because that is one of the fundamental things that can help your guitar tone out.
And get a good tuner.
And get a good tuner.
Yeah, it has to be very accurate or it's just not going to work.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. And fortunately, there are loads of those available now. It didn't used to be like that, but now there are.
And there's plenty of great ones that you can download as apps for
That's true.
for your phones.
That's true.
Yay.
All right.
It really, a tuner pedal should be someone's 4 on the floor because it's seriously probably the most important pedal.
Yeah.
It might be. It might be, but
Not-
it's
not in your
very
band.
Exciting. Not my band. Oh wow, dang! Latent slap. All right. And
So-
what about what else? What about strings?
If you're going to change the strings, you should change the strings, but you should do it the day before typically.
Okay.
You're paying for your time at the studio.
Right. Well, you don't want to sit there and change your strings, although you can do it while I'm setting up the drums because you got
Right.
time.
Yeah.
But right.
But getting to the actual like purpose of doing it the day before, does it have anything to do with stretching them properly?
Yes, because if you just put them on and then you're playing, your tuning is going to be much more frequent.
Gotcha.
But it'll
it's more
still
likely to go out of tune. But I mean, we tune after every take, so you're playing it for 3 minutes, and then you're tuning again.
Okay.
but it's still going to sound much better than 8-month-old
Absolutely,
ratty
yeah.
strings.
Yeah.
So
If your options are not changing the strings or changing them when you get there, I'll take changing them when you get there.
gotcha.
Because I'm gonna like seriously, I tell people to tune after every take, and they get tired of it. And
But
You
yeah,
know.
but that's keeping it by
Right.
the time you get to the 10th song, you want it to sound like the first one.
right,
as-
and
at least as good.
You don't want to get to the end stage of mixing and be like, well, this guitar's out of tune.
Yep. Exactamundo.
Do you like chorus? Good.
Maybe
Yeah, exactly.
maybe even two days before to give a proper stretch on them. Yeah.
Well, depending on if you're going to practice though before you, because that's really the most important thing
Right.
is knowing your parts and playing them well. So if you're going to practice like you should, I'd rather have you do all your practicing, change the strings, and then come in the next day.
Okay. Sounds good.
Good point.
And you just touched on something, which is I'm gonna guess that you don't want me trying to figure out guitar parts in the studio. Oh, maybe you do because
hourly rate.
But
He does a thing.
but it's also a pain
I
in the
am
neck.
not that guy,
Yeah.
Tony.
It's also a pain in the neck for everybody waiting around for you to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, and it flows better if you know what you're going for and
Right.
have a vision for the song. I mean,
Sometimes
that
you have
being
to
said,
do it,
sometimes you have a vision for the song and you just don't see very well because your part is terrible.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, seriously, you'll have a note that just doesn't work
Right.
Yeah.
in the key. So you have to change that note. It happens a lot with bass players, believe it or not.
Interesting.
So you have to change that note and,
All right.
which is part of my job
I
to
can
hear
see
it and
that.
say, hey, you're a half step flat.
There you go.
So
Excellent. All right. Lots more questions. I love this. This is so fun. All right. How do I handle my amp situation, John? I play in my house, or maybe I have a live rig, or maybe I've got a Marshall stack or a Fender Twin. How do I handle going into the studio with my amps? This is a big question.
So your question is, do I bring my 2 412s and my Marshall head, or do I not?
Maybe.
It depends on what kind of band you play in. B, or two, it depends. It depends on how we're recording this. I've done some things where it was everybody live in the live room, the big room,
Right.
with no headphones. So it matters more then than it matters when everything is isolated.
Okay.
If it's isolated, I don't care what you bring, volume wise,
Okay.
because it's isolated.
So you can bring in your big giant Marshall and crank it and everything's all good in the hood.
All good.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got doors.
All right.
So yeah, but I mean, if it's super loud, if you have that many speaker cabinets, they're just not needed. It's not going to do anything for you, but you're going to hurt yourself.
So there's no, is there any issue between what a microphone can handle? So like, let's say, man, I want to get my amp sounds amazing when it hits 7, but 7 is, incredibly loud. Is there a threshold at which the microphone is not getting that true sound anymore?
Some microphones, yes, and some really the limits are pretty high. So you're probably not gonna. And when you put a mic on a cabinet, you're still, even if you had 2 412s, you have a mic in front of one of those 412s, and you have a mic in front of one of those speakers of the 412s. So it's not really going to do anything. You put a dynamic mic on it if it's ridiculously loud. I usually record with ribbon mics. If it's incredibly loud, I'm not going to use a ribbon mic, and I'm not going to use like a large diaphragm condenser or anything like that because it's going to overload the mic.
That's a great segue because I wanted to ask you. So a lot of times we'll see images of an amp with like a dynamic mic, which would be like a Shure 57, right? Pointed right at, little tiny microphone pointed right at the speaker or off axis. And then you'll see a square shaped one draped over the front of it, right? Sort of a rectangle flat microphone. I just want to talk about like the different microphones that you're using and why.
I am 99% of the time using a Royer R121, which is a ribbon microphone that can handle a lot of SPL, which is volume basically.
Okay.
And that mic covers a lot of ground. I use that and another mic that I will put in the room. I'll measure it out because when I'm putting multiple mics on anything, phase is a huge deal that I take very seriously.
Explain that.
You have a sine wave. Both those mics are collecting the sine wave. If one of the mics has a sine wave that is going up, you want the other mic that's on the same source to be going up at the same time,
okay,
or at least very close. You have like a few samples here and there. But if you have a mic on the amp, you have a mic in the room. When the sine wave is going up on the close mic and it's going down on the room mic, you're going to have a really weird sound, and you're going to have filtering out, and it's going to be quieter for one thing. You're going to lose low end probably. Right. It's just not good. It's a thin, tinny thing.
So is that one of those things where someone says, hey, we're just going to do it live? And they have your amp mic'd, but then they also have a room mic that's distant away that might be a problem?
Like it would bleed through or something.
Yeah.
If they're doing it live with no headphones,
yeah,
I don't do room mics like that. I'll put a couple room mics up to cover everything.
Okay.
And once you get a waveform like that, I mess with phase a lot. There's a measuring tape involved. So
yeah. Okay. So that's kind of a thing.
Sounds absolutely.
Yeah. So help me understand the difference. Like you have a ribbon mic in front. You're saying that handles really high volume. You also have a
ribbon mic does not typically handle high volume.
But the
one that I use does better than most, but not as well as a 57 or an SM7 or something like that.
Okay. And that is the one that's mounted on the floor, typically pointed right at the.
I stick that thing right on the dust cap.
Right. So why are you using the two different microphones? What quality are those giving sound wise that you would need two of them?
Like with the close mic and a room mic,
ribbon mic, condenser mic,
that are both up close. The only time I put two mics up close normally is if I'm doing really heavy stuff.
Okay.
Like punk stuff, metal stuff.
Okay.
Then that's two mics right on it. And again, I'm like matching diaphragms inside the mic to how far they are from the speaker.
Tonally, are you getting the same experience?
A condenser will typically have a high, like more bright, like they'll be brighter.
Okay.
I know words.
Yes.
They'll have more treble and a little bit more bass. There'll be a little bit more of a curve normally, depending on the condenser. The ribbon mic is a little bit darker typically, but it covers the guitar land frequencies very well and very accurately. And ribbon mics take equalization really well.
Okay.
So if you have to make it a little bit brighter, you can do that and it's still going to sound great.
Right.
Because it's just accurate and very sweet sounding.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. That's
Just
what
like
I was looking
you.
for.
Just like
Perfect.
you, Todd.
Just like me. That's what everybody says.
Do you normally prefer somebody bringing a smaller amp in? I mean, does that make your job easier, I guess, is where I'm going with that.
If it's a small amp that sounds good,
Yeah.
then yes. Unless we're doing the live thing with everybody in the same room, then I need it to be roughly something that matches the volume of the drums. Because if I have something that's really small out in that room, I'm going to turn that thing up to where I need it, and it's going to have tons of drums in it.
Okay. Yeah.
And so everything's relative when you're
So
talking
it's
about
almost, if you're doing a live recording, you want basically live rigs for everybody.
live rigs where people know, like have a,
Yeah, they've played that out and they're not relying on microphones to do all the heavy lifting.
Right.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay. Excellent. Oh, this is so great. I love it. All right. Next, I'm going to go for cables. Should you bring in your own cables? Does it matter in length, live length, like a stage length or short length for your house? Or
you should.
How do you handle cables?
You should bring in your own cables. And if I look at your cable and say, that's garbage, here,
Okay.
try this.
All right.
And I would probably say that in maybe nicer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I try to be nice about it, but I have a job to do.
So if you have me positioned in the room and I'm 5 feet away from my amp and I've got a 20-foot cable, right? Is that, you cool with that? You going to want to change that up?
You're not going to be in the same room as your amp unless you want to be in the same room as your amp. Or we're doing the live thing with no headphones. Then you will be in the same room with your amp. But most of the time, amp will be isolated. You will be in the room with the drummer looking at him, but hearing yourself on the headphones.
Right. We're going to touch on two of those aspects in just a moment. Oh. All right. Let's go to, if I don't normally wear headphones, will this experience throw me off?
If you're listening to headphones and you're hearing everybody, it's going to take a minute to get used to, for sure.
So yeah, if you're recording in your basement or whatever, and all you ever hear is loads of dB, and now all of a sudden you're playing with everybody, but you have headphones on, you can't really hear the room or anything.
You're going to feel the drums though.
Yeah.
Because you're out in the, that's why I put people out in the room with the drummer and their amps and everything separated.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you're the bass player, you're not going to feel your pants rumble.
Right.
Maybe you will. I don't know.
Is that a Spinal Tap reference?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
But you're going to feel the drums, and I feel like that's the most important part.
Is that something that you tend to get people talking about or complaining about a lot? Like, well, I can't hear the blah, 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 or there's people complaining about their headphones?
Sometimes, and then I'm like, hang on. I don't say it like that. I don't go, hang on.
Yes. No, wait,
I hit play. I go out there. I listen to their headphones. I make like 3 small changes on the mixer because they have a headphone mixer. Mm-hmm. And usually they're fine.
Okay.
After that, and they're like, oh, thanks.
No, excellent.
So that's what my clients sound like. Hey, thanks.
Let's try this one.
What's a general thing that you think people freak out about at the studio?
A lot of times people have what is called red light disease. So as soon as you hit record,
They freeze.
you get like these cold sweats every once in a while, and after a few takes that usually goes away. So it's just one of those things. And I try to keep it very relaxed. So, I let everyone know it's like, we can do this as many times as, just relax and we'll put one down that's good. You're not going to be stuck with a take that you hate.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's usually how you get around
so
that.
that's typically the biggest thing is the red light fever, as you call it. I like that. All right. Let's see. What's next?
So
What's
I'm
next?
loading up my gig bag and my gear bag. What should I be throwing in there? Like picks and strings and
A tuner
a tuner.
and picks.
You've heard me play.
Extra strings.
Extra strings for sure. And if you really want to be quick about it, you can throw in like one of those
String winders.
a string winder. Thank you. The old Crankarola business.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's probably the biggest thing. I mean, just make sure you have all your stuff together.
Do you like
That's
to see
all.
people standing in the studio while they play or sitting on a stool?
I like to see them doing whatever they want to do.
Okay. However they're most
and
comfortable.
you can tell however they're most comfortable. And if it's an upbeat rock thing, I've had to ask people, somebody will play something and you can tell that they're not into it that much. And all I have to say is, why don't you stand up for this next take? And that will make all the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could see where that.
So
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I don't like stool sitters. I think I
No,
said
you-
that on a previous episode.
You did. And
So if Slash walked into your studio, would you let him smoke or not?
Ooh, that's a good question.
not in the control room,
Ah. Okay.
which is funny though, because Appetite for Destruction was done on a board exactly like mine. Same
That's
model and everything.
Wow.
interesting. Well, that actually brings me to a question that we have. Does the board matter? and I know that that's probably like, duh, yes. But I know sometimes when you're talking to a potential studio, they like to say, well, I work on this board, or sometimes you go in and you're like, wow, this looks like a DJ board. What's the big difference? Sorry, but all right.
The board matters, and it doesn't have to be a board. There are a lot of different ways to get to where you need to be.
Okay.
The board is how I get to where I need to be.
Okay.
So it has a bunch of fantastic mic preamps, and a bunch of EQs that come with those mic preamps. And it also, I mix through it. So I'm splitting when I use Pro Tools, I'm splitting everything out and going through the board, and what it does in summing and with the EQs and everything else. It's
So
amazing.
So I think that is a point of differentiation, because I know that there are those who will record and then take that recording and mix it elsewhere,
Mhm.
or mix it on a different computer.
Are you saying they're recording at home, or they're recording at another,
they're recording
or anywhere?
They're recording wherever, and then they will mix it on a different computer.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like what you're doing is you're recording and mixing off of the same exact board. So I'm just assuming that there are some benefits to doing that.
I don't know if there are benefits using the same board going in and out.
Okay, that's just what you do.
Yeah, because you could go in using my board and come out using a different board and still get the benefits of that board versus my board.
Okay,
Yeah, but it's still like a higher quality board, which is, like a vintage British console.
right.
Is
Yours is
what we're
you
dealing
gotta-
with. So it's
What do you have?
it's a Trident,
Trident.
80B,
ADB.
1983.
Nice.
It's big. I mean, it's real
It's big. It's it's over 8 feet, 750 pounds.
Yeah.
Jeez.
When you're rehearsing in a studio and you have the setup that you typically use, or you're playing in your live setup, it's usually all for one and one for all, and you're all in the same space. It's not always the case when you go into a studio. So explain what that experience is going to be.
When you come into the studio, you're not going to have everything in the same room, for
Okay.
one thing. Anything that is loud is going to be separated. So the drums are going to be in the largest room. The bass will be in, I usually put it in the room that I have my grand piano in. And then I have 2 other rooms that I'll put 2 amps in. So everything will be split up. And then I'll do a scratch vocal, typically, that is, I just put them in the room. I try to have everybody in the main room with the drums.
Okay.
I think
Including the
that's,
vocals.
including the vocals, but we're not keeping those vocals. That's
Okay.
a scratch vocal.
Right.
Gotcha.
That's just to get through the song.
Right.
It's to get through the song. Everybody knows where everything is,
It's a
and
mapping. Yeah.
it also helps me because I'll know where things are in the song. I know where the verses are. I know where the chorus is, so I can make adjustments for that as we
Okay.
go. And if somebody says, yeah, this guitar goes in the second chorus, I can look at the vocal typically and get there.
Gotcha. Now, when you are doing that, what are the benefits of having everything isolated?
You can equalize things much better that way. You don't have phase issues like you would have with everything in the same room. And that's especially important for the low end. So if you have your bass in the big room with everything else, sometimes you have issues with the kick drum, and you can do things to roll off low end and everything, but you can't do it on the kick drum and the bass guitar in the same way. So just having everything separate just makes that so much easier. I can do whatever I want with any of those things.
Excellent. And boys, did you have anything to add to that real quick?
Not
No?
really. I mean, the last time I was in a studio, we did some demos just to, get us into some really cool bars or whatever. That's what we did. I had this PV 5150 and he had me put it in the furthest room from everything else. I mean, that's...
You don't have to do everything totally separate. I've done some things where everybody is in the same room. It just takes a minute to get everything like aligned with the phase, and I'll put up baffles and stuff like that to get as close as I can. You lose some control on the other end. You're certainly not punching anything in, because if you do that, you're going to hear the other guitar track
So
on
explain
everything
that
else.
real quick.
Punching it would be like if somebody's playing, if everybody's in the same room, the guitar player makes a mistake and is like, hey, I want to fix this in verse 2 or something. They come in, they want to replay that part. You're supposed to punch them in, but you're going to hear that old guitar part that he made the mistake in on the drum overheads, most likely, or if you put up
And
a room
that's
mic, you
bleed,
can hear in
right?
that. It's bleed that's going in from his amp that was in the room at the same time,
Right.
going into the overheads.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. Well said.
Yeah.
Good thing we have an expert in the room.
So what about guitarists that want to use multiple amps? One maybe that's a clean sound, one that's a dirty sound, recording it at the same time.
wet and dry.
Do you encourage that? Do you discourage that?
I don't do either. If that's
Okay.
what they want to do, that's what we're going to do.
Okay.
I'm there just to, make everything happen the way they want it to happen. And if they're looking for an opinion, I'm happy to give it to them. And if something sounds really, really off, I'm probably going to, I feel like that's my job too. I'm there to, be a sort of a watchdog, a bumper.
Is that something that you'll often recommend to people? Like, because I know that's one of the things that I noticed when I walked in. I was like, immediately, I was like, wow, there's a big pile of amps there. That's really cool. And I know that in my first recording experience way back when, it was so dumb. I had this big dumb Randall thing. It was huge. And he's like, yeah, it's really not, like, I know what sound you're going for, at least, based on what you're telling me. Why don't I'm going to have you also be playing through, I think he put a was it a Vox? I think it might have put a Vox in there too, just to like mitigate the sound, because it was super scoopy and I didn't know what I was doing. And
I'm willing to bet that 99% of your tone was that Vox. He was
it
like,
might have been.
I'm just going to put this other amp up. We'll use both though.
Yeah. So he blended them, and I thought, oh, that's really cool, because I didn't know. I was green as could be when I first went in, but I appreciated that. And you have many different kinds of amps at your disposal, and I'm assuming they're not just because they look cool.
No, they're not. They do though. They do.
Yeah,
they do. They look
really
cool.
do look
They
cool.
look cool.
I will vouch for that. He's got some.
Yeah,
cool
they look
ones.
pretty cool.
Yeah. You've got a bunch of great amps that don't look. They
I have
look
a
amazing.
PV, Todd. I have a PV.
I know for a fact you've got some great little amps over there, and lots of weird ones that have specifically very different tones. So, is that something that you often recommend? Like, hey, what you want to use one of these, or how does that go?
I do, but I do it after we do the initial tracking. So when we do everybody with the entire band, we do the drums and the bass and 2 guitars, typically 3, whatever, however many they have. We'll do that stuff. And if they want to use one of my amps, which happens about 50% of the time, that's fine. we'll choose that and throw it in the ISO booth. But a lot of the time, I want to hear what they're going for, what their pedals are doing, interacting with their amps, because I'll reference that tone when we're doing the overdubs and stuff like that. So usually when I'm recommending an amp, it's in the overdub stage of recording.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally.
and I do.
So you're just
and
adding just a little bit of extra color to maybe an existing sound.
Yeah, but most of the time the scratch is just a scratch. They're playing along to get a solid drum take, a solid bass take. I mean, there are times when we use those guitars, but when we set up to begin the project for the whole album or whatever, one of my first questions is this a guitar track that we're keeping, or is this a guitar track that you plan on replacing later?
Gotcha.
So
for that, for all intent and purpose there, your initial everybody in the room, everybody's scratch except the drums.
And bass.
Mm-hmm. Okay, gotcha. So if you're a guitar player and you go through all your songs and he says, cool, let's do guitar, you're going to be like, what? Didn't we just do that? So that's when you're going to do the isolated.
We have the conversation before we even start recording, because I want to know if this is a keeper guitar track or not.
Understood. Okay.
Because I will hone in on their playing.
Okay.
I will judge them. Not really. If they make a mistake, though, I will bring it to their attention and say, hey, we should fix this. We're going to move on. And
all right. Excellent.
We were talking about phasing earlier, and you can control the phasing on your board, right? As far as phasing switches.
I can flip the phase on my board, yes.
And that's every channel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. And one of the main things I do is when I'm doing drums especially is I'll solo out the toms versus the overheads. I'll solo out the snare and the kick. So everything I kind of solo out real quick and make sure it's all in phase with the overheads.
Okay. I was just curious.
Why do we care about that?
Because if something's out of phase, it's going to cancel out a lot of the good stuff. It's not going to sound good if something is out of phase. You want it to be in phase. It'll be fuller.
Right. And so that's what you're controlling on your end.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I am. It's nothing that the player has to worry about.
Okay, so I'm going to start looking for a studio for my band to recording. I don't know a lot about studios, so what are some things that I should be mindful of, potentially look out for in those considerations?
Well, the most important thing is to hear samples of their work.
Okay.
And if you like the samples of their work, I don't know if there's that much of an issue. You should feel more comfortable going into that studio. Find out just the size and if it's going to accommodate a full band, because you're going to want to play with a full band.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's just like a guy with a computer in one room, that's probably not for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
But that's about it, though. I think a very small amount of homework will get you where you need to be.
Okay.
It's the same in every situation. You get what you pay for. So if you're paying $200 for a day, then you're going to get a $200 recording.
Right.
Okay. And you should expect a $200 recording.
Okay. And sometimes that might be just fine to work out the kinks. And
that's right. Maybe you're just demoing some stuff. You want to know what everybody sounds like.
Right. So I guess the takeaway is that all recordings are not necessarily equal, in the sense that, just because you're going into a studio to record with professional mics and a professional setup, it's not necessarily going to guarantee you something that you're like, all right, go make an LP out of this.
No, because it's 90% the engineer. Like, if they know what they're doing, they can take a 57 and a Mackie board and make it sound pretty decent.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. And if they don't, they could have, the world's best console and a bunch of Neumanns and make it sound terrible.
So what's the big deal with digital versus analog? Is it worth paying more to go to an older studio with all analog stuff, or?
I think it's mostly your workflow is the biggest issue that's changed with it, because I have a tape machine at the studio. I don't use it all that much because, first off, tape is expensive.
Yeah.
It's like $200 for 16 minutes or something like that.
Oh my gosh. I had no idea.
Yeah, unless you go slower, and then you get like 32 minutes for $200.
Not as good as quality when you go slow, right? The faster the tape records, the better quality.
It's noisier. You get better low end response.
Okay.
So, but you have tape hiss, a little bit more, but it's super slow. Like the whole process just,
It's
unless you're
agonizingly
banging
slow.
out something live, which would be fun to do with like a punk band or something. Just lay it down, no overdubs, no nothing. Just you know, like if you're rewinding, doing punch ins and stuff like that, it's just very tedious. It takes a long time. It sounds good. Does it sound that much better? Because it does take you a lot longer. You're paying for tape. In my opinion, no.
It's like quintuple the cost.
It probably,
Yeah.
It's
just
the
because
old
it's a
school
lot.
way of
It's a
doing
lot
it.
slower,
Yeah.
and there are benefits to it. There's one of the benefits that people don't think of is that time that you're rewinding and finding your spot and everything. You're considering your take. You're considering the song. You're considering other things. You're not just like, boom, here it is, do it again. Here, boom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's something to be said for that. Hassle, the general hassle of it is, I'm usually like, I can make it sound like that with a bunch of different things. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The nostalgia in me and remembering
smell.
that kind of thing. All that stuff.
The smell, and that sounds weird.
No,
but when you rewind or fast forward
You
a
smell
tape, you
that
get
tape,
that.
man.
Yeah, you smell the tape. It's like,
It's like when you walk into a tattoo studio, you're like, oh yeah, I smell this. This is no, that's a thing.
that's what?
No, it is.
It is.
It is for me, anyways. All right, Tony.
Yes.
Why don't you round us up with this one here?
Studio etiquette. What are the do's and the don'ts?
Wow.
And who sets the rules?
My biggest rule is don't fart in the control room.
My dad.
That's
did
real.
that.
That's real.
Yes,
I
it
tell people
is.
that all the time. Anyway, studio etiquette. Just be respectful. Just like, don't come in and like put your feet all over my couch and stuff. That bugs me. But that's a stupid thing. Just clean up after yourself. The studio etiquette is not that big of a thing. It's just being a conscientious individual. That's all I ask for, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And don't just like mess with everything in there like it's yours.
Don't spill beer on the
That's sort of
console.
annoying.
Yeah.
Well,
And don't set your beer on the console. Don't.
That's so beyond facility management.
And that's really what that is.
Yeah. So how about if you're playing, the interaction between someone who's actually playing and you in the control room? Are there things that you find yourself you have to kind of coach people on the process or anything like that?
If they are very new to recording, I need to just tell them how it works and how it, like, there are overdubs, and then there's mixing. It's a whole thing. And that, I've been working with younger and younger bands, it seems like, and those younger and younger bands are doing more and more things. Like they're going on tour when they're 18 as opposed to working with bands that are going on tour when they're 25. They're just younger people coming in, so you have a little bit more explaining to do when they get there.
Okay.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm fine with like younger bands where I can, I'm just like, I'm going to walk you through this, and you're going to be happy when you walk out, or we're going to fix it until you are.
And then handoff. I know that this is also a big question. It's like, cool, I recorded, now what? What is typically the next situation where, obviously,
that's a common question. It's like, we did this, what do we do?
Right.
Usually what I'd like to do, and that's pretty much what I'm doing 100% of the time now, is doing an entire mix and sending it to them. And they'll either send me notes on any changes that they want, or I'll schedule a set, which I'm absolutely fine to do, schedule a session for them to come in and we can just hammer everything out while they're there. I'd like to have like 3 or 4 hours though.
Of you just spending time with them.
without like 4 guys on the couch behind me talking.
Right. Backseat driving.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, backseat driving, but even them talking amongst themselves is just sort of a distraction.
Sure. Okay. And that's a pretty interactive thing once you do get to that point and say, all right, everybody, we got a mix. Now let's start to...
For sure.
Okay. Gotcha. Cool, man. Any words of advice you want to leave us with as far as a
practice to a click track?
Yep.
Oh man, that was a big one.
Yeah.
Okay, explain that.
That I feel like you have your pitch,
or
and
is
you have your time,
or is that tell your drummer to practice to a
There's that too, but this is called guitar knobs.
Yes, this is true.
He's got a
So yeah,
That'd be on the Drumheads podcast.
Yes, I mean, I recently experienced something like that, so I was,
Well, there's a lot of drummers who have never played to a click track before, and it's really, I mean, it's like disorienting to a lot of drummers.
that is true unless their time is kind of decent because they have decent musicality as a human.
So the lesson is you can just blame the drummer.
That's not the lesson.
know your stuff when you come into the studio.
The lesson is if the drummer does a fantastic job and everything is to the click, has a great feel, and you come in as a guitar player and you're just way behind, you're lagging, or you're ahead of everything, you're just rushing everything.
right.
I mean, it like
And that's
it
probably when
ruins
that red light fever
so
kind
many
of
things.
like red light syndrome kind of maybe can.
Some people
agitate
just
that,
can't
yeah.
keep time very well, Todd.
That's true. That's true. Speaking,
You can blame it on a fever if you want.
I just wanted to say rest in peace, Hal Blaine. He just passed away. He's a drummer and he worked for Columbia Records.
Wrecking Crew.
He was in what
okay.
they call the Wrecking Crew.
Yeah.
He was on a lot of albums and he had just recently passed away. So yeah, I thought because this is a recording episode, we
All
should
right, there you go.
rest in peace, my friend.
Yes. All right. We are going to transition to.
Would you rather? Okay, this week's Would You Rather.
That was a good one.
Thank
that was
you.
good. I like it.
So we have a new addition to our Guitar Knobs Facebook group. Welcome, Matthew Lee Mills. And his Would You Rather is, would you rather have the amp of your dreams or would you rather have a super fun pedal board? What would you rather have?
All
It's
right.
either one or the other.
Let's see here. All right. So everybody think real hard. Close your eyes unless you're driving. Yeah. And then, or have somebody else take. No, I won't even say that. Tony,
I would take the amp of my dreams over a pedal board.
which is,
I mean, I'm very partial to Vox AC30s.
this is true.
Yes, he is.
You have the amp of your dreams, the hand wire.
Well, that's not that. The amp of my dreams is my Dr. Z. So
Okay.
that was the one that I wanted and now have.
Yeah. The Maserati.
The Maserati, which is an AC30 on steroids.
Yeah.
Are those made in Cleveland?
Yeah.
I would really like to.
I don't have one of those. I should.
You should have one of those.
Yeah.
Can I have yours?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Jared.
This was tough because I don't know. I really like it. I think I appreciate a really, really good amp. I'm gonna go with the amp, and I'm gonna tell you what amp I want and what I'm really wanting right now. I want a JCM 800.
Okay.
Either 100 watt or 50 watt. I think the 100 watt because I think that's closer to the original schematics of a Super Lead, if I'm not mistaken. Similar?
You're getting some
Is it
disparaging
similar?
looks in here.
Or
Go ahead, John.
My Super Lead is 100 watt.
okay, so I'll go 100 watt.
All right.
I want a JCM 800.
You can't handle 100 watts.
I think you should
100
go
watt.
150. Go 150.
150.
101 watts.
I had a PV Road King at one time. Those
Oh, the one with the 6L6s.
yes, that will crumble your house to the
6.
ground, turned all the way.
Yeah.
up.
Well, we don't have to worry about that.
I would rather take the JCM 800 amp over the
Okay.
pedal board.
All
Although
right.
I love my Neutrons.
Yes. All right. John.
Let me ask one question. How bad is the amp that you get stuck with when you have the good pedal board?
Ooh. That's not defined. So I think it's just one or the other.
I'll
It's
take the amp.
There
Okay.
you go.
Ugh.
And which amp am I picking?
Sure.
I'm taking my 72 Super Reverb.
All right.
Okay, I can see that.
Ooh.
I
It's
can
a
see
ringer. It cannot make a bad sound.
Okay.
Excellent. Excellent.
That's right up there with the Vibrolux.
Todd, what are you doing, brother?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm still very much in my
PV Bandit.
Yes.
TNT.
Yeah. I'm still sort of in my early exploration of amps, to be perfectly honest. I feel like I have so much to learn about amps and figuring out, which ones find my my sound. And so I'm going to go with the pedal board because I really love pedals. I love amps too. I just don't, there's too many I haven't figured out with the one that I'm like, this one, so I can't,
but here's
I can't
the thing.
tell you what my dream
Can I
amp
interject?
is.
Can I interject on this?
Yes.
I've heard your band.
Yes.
An amp is your correct answer. Seriously.
Okay. I don't know how to take that.
I thought you were going to say a new guitar player is the answer.
Wow.
Oh, come on.
This guy.
Okay. So why are you saying that?
Because you don't need a bunch of pedals. Your stuff is in your, like you said, smack them with a board and run away
You
quietly.
just need a PV Bandit.
Yeah. Well,
like a rock ninja.
I'll tell you and show you what I'm playing when we get out of here.
Okay.
How about that? But you know what? I'm going to stick with the pedals because I don't have the amp of my dreams. I don't know what that is yet. So I can't actually choose that, but I can choose a good pedal board.
Well, what would that be?
Yeah,
What is
yeah,
the pedal
yeah,
board
exactly.
of your
It's
dreams?
too complicated for this question.
Well, you made us answer that question.
A really good.
It's
fun
just an
pedal board.
H9.
Yeah, or no,
Done.
definitely not. All righty, let's get on to John. Where can people find you on the internet and everything?
I am at relayrecording.com and I am also at jonfintel.com. It's
Excellent.
not hard.
Fintel.
JONFINTEL.
That's right. And there's no H in the John.
Wow, that's like
No.
3 groups of 3 letters.
Yes.
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah. You're a mathematician, Tony.
And
Well,
then-
I was a math major.
He
That's
actually
right.
was. Tony, you
was
got some
math.
people to thank?
I want to talk about our executive producer.
Preach it, brother.
I'm telling you, these people help along with other patrons on Patreon, but these executive producers help make this podcast possible.
We
Yes.
appreciate you very much.
So
Go
you're
ahead.
asking yourself, what is this executive producer? What is a patron on Patreon? Go to patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs and find out how you can become a patron. And there's various levels that you can participate in. All have great prize packages. You get t-shirts, you get barefoot buttons, you get all kinds of crazy stuff.
Stickers for your guitar case.
Stickers for your guitar case.
Picks, buttons, the whole thing.
The whole enchilada.
9 yards.
But the cream of the crop, the executive producer level, has one additional benefit. And Jared, that would be?
You get your name read on the thing.
That's right. You get your name read on the thing.
Yep.
And this would be the thing. And this is what I'm going to do.
Let's do it.
I would like to welcome on board Mr. Anthony Lanthrop.
Hey!
Welcome aboard, our newest executive producer.
He's a good dude, man. He's a good customer.
You are in great company, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Because in addition to you, we have Johnny Knowles.
Yep.
We have Stefan Lamb. We have Rick Lenglou, Michael McVeigh, Michael Senchuk, Brian Robison, Jonathan Jerusik, Ken Sayers, Corey Nigro, Brad Partridge, Michael Van Zant, Doug Christ, Darren Gregory, Robert Marfleet, John Anglin, Chris Kearney, Sean S. Oliver Gonzalez, John Daly, Robin Smith, Pete Marshall, Carlos Mancha, Matt Brammer, David Wolfson, Martin Cliff, and the original executive producer, Mr. Tom Barazin.
All right. Thank you guys so much for helping our show out.
Thank you.
It means the world to us, truly.
Yes.
Tony, where can people find you?
They can find me at pickguardian.com. You can see various types of projects and things that I'm doing on Instagram at the Pick Guardian 1. But, you know, if you need a custom guard, maybe you're changing out pickups, you want a different color, just get a hold of me. I'll take care of you.
Make your guitar look mighty pretty. Did it for mine.
That's right.
Jared.
Find me at brandonwoundpickups.com. If you want to throw an email, Jared, Jared, at brandonwoundpickups.com. You have any questions about pickups, new pickups, you need one replaced or you need one rewound and you want to keep the original pickup, I'm really good at that too. Please get a hold of me.
Excellent. And you can drop me a line, Todd at theguitarknobs.com. And you can also DM me on Instagram at Guitar Knobs. and we will talk about things. Please send us your Would You Rathers as well, because then we'll go ahead and read them on the show, just like we did today.
Yep.
Yes, sir. All right. Everybody, have a great guitar week. Thank you so much to Jon Fintel for joining us.
Thanks, John.
On an awesome
Thanks for having me.
101. This is super fun.
That was.
And consider going in and getting your band recorded in the studio. Do it.
Archive it.
Yes, sir. And subscribe.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of sumo wrestlers playing the guitar, though, do you?
The lever jibbity jubal. You got to do this thing.
I tighten that thing down.
Thing.
Well, you're special, Todd.
Yes. No, you're special.
This all stays in.
Answer the question.
I need a break.
I was doing emphasis.
We're recording, right?
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/The Guitar Knobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.